I hope
Mm.
maybe this podcast will be heard by someone who really want to tell it out but couldn't tell it out.
This is the most interesting topics that we've been like talking and doing since past 14 episodes. I'm very grateful that we started to want to talk about it, and of course thanks a lot to Celine for being like super open about it. Hey guys, welcome to our newest episode of Not Only Diet Talk. Today we have a very special guest. Every week we are going to say it's a special guest.
Yeah.
But anyway, if you see in the title today, we are going to talk about mental health, and we're going to debunk more of the information, the experiences, and how to manage mental health in the term of our special guest today. But not to forget, in My Fun Diet, we aim to bring a sustainable, healthy dietary behavior for everyone. And we're trying to bring this podcast not to just talk about diet, but we also want to talk about something that is very, very important, something that is very, very prominent on our current years. You know, we've been knowing or we've been talking about this mental health for a couple of years now. For me, myself personally, I've been, like starting to know more about it when I was in university, and I think the conversation has started to keep growing, and people are starting to be more aware about it as well. It's not something that like how to say it, like, like people should you they will see like this mental health issue as something really really bad, but
Yeah.
nowadays people are starting to think that this is part of the process of growing up. For example, you started to have your past trauma, or you started to have like thinking about the competition of having thinking about the future, that's what actually causes anxiety, for example. So I think that would be a very interesting topic. We are not here to trigger anything. Honestly, we are just trying to make a
Mm.
conversation with the best person to talk about it as well. But yeah, Shinyi, maybe you just want to give a little bit of like statistics, so that people get to be more aware about what's happening, at least in our local context right now.
Yeah. All right. So when we talk about mental illness or mental health, one of the issue when I was doing some reading is basically reference from one of the latest study released by Ministry of Health this year, but that is data of last year. Basically, right, in Malaysia, if we talk about the community or community that age 16 years old and above, there is actually around 4.6% of the people in Malaysia, they are actually having, or they are actually suffering from depression. Yeah, 4.6% initially when I was looking at the data, it feels to me, it's like, oh, it's just like almost 5%. But interestingly, when I compare with the data that we tabulate, not me tabulate, the government tabulate from 2019, which was like 5 years ago, from 2019 to 2023. Okay, within that 4 years itself, the number of people with depression actually it doubles. Yeah, so certainly the trend is increasing. There are
Mm.
definitely more and more people having the issue, and good things about that is there are more and more people who are talking about it right now.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think this is something that we're going to talk about today as well, which is in term of the factors, how to actually manage it and everything. But before we
Mm.
get further into it, I just wanted to ask you your opinion, Shenyi, and also we
Mm.
will ask our guests later about it as well. What do you think about the awareness of like mental illness nowadays in Malaysia context? Yeah, we don't need to go very broad, but maybe in just Malaysia context, or
Mm.
maybe in your um community or your own circle of friends, like what do you think about the awareness itself?
Yeah, basically based on my the circle that I am being with, is quite similar with what you mentioned early in the podcast just now. Basically, for the past 4 to 5 years, I'm seeing more and more people that are actually aware about this mental health issue, and there's a lot of material awareness campaign that comes from either government or even NGOs. They are actually raising up a lot of awareness on this issue, and personally, the people around me, when I was back then studying in secondary school or primary school, I didn't see as much. Probably some of the issue was under the carpet. They are not being exposed. But stepping into university throughout the degree life and after working, I can definitely see more and more people who is having the issue, and a lot more people who are talking about it and, in a way advocating for it.
Yeah, I think to put into another perspective as well, it's actually really good to see the awareness is getting higher, because when the awareness is getting higher, that's when people who actually have any mental illness will start to feel more safe to talk about how they feel. I feel like
Yeah.
before this, like people are, not really talking about it. People are thinking it as something that is very bad, which eventually it makes people who has, example like depression, afraid to actually talk about it. Yeah, so I think I agree with you. Like the awareness is getting higher, regardless in our community setting or in a larger scale. It seems like everybody is talking about it. Yeah, so it's a good thing, right? At the end of the day,
Yeah.
it's a good thing. Yeah, that we want to cherish. But anyway, yeah, let's talk further with our special guest today. She is Celine. She's also a dietitian.
Yeah.
Someone that is we are very honored to actually receive her today, because she is willing to share about her past experience regarding this mental illness before. Um, yeah, so let's welcome Celine. But I think before we talk further into that, topics itself, maybe Celine, you just want to introduce yourself a little bit.
Hi everyone. Okay, so yeah, thank you for the invitation, and I'm really be honored to be here to share to you guys about mental illness. So just a fun fact, this is my first time sharing to public, as just now Ameerul and Shen Yi had said that this topic is quite taboo and it's quite sensitive to talk and discuss in publicly actually. So first off, I introduce myself. I'm Celine. I'm actually graduate as a dietitian from IMU, and now I'm working as a corporate wellness consultant, where I pitch to corporates medical checkups to the staff, and also some of the wellness programs to the HR lah, so to actually help improving well-being in workplace. So yeah, I'm actually quite nervous in the sense of to myself. I'm nervous. I'm nervous by myself, and also to talk about this topic. But I'm really glad to discuss with you guys of this mental illness, because that's one of my truest experience that I've been through. And I really hope this experience can actually help for those who wanted to be heard and also wanted to be known that you are not alone lah. Okay? Yeah.
Yeah, that's that's very fantastic to know. Um, yeah. So Celine, basically, what do you think as well in terms of the awareness of this mental health issue?
Okay.
Been
So,
going these past few years.
all right. So actually, I've been through quite a challenge in terms of my mental health in 2019, which is Sunny said 20, from 2019 to 2023 is actually double up, maybe because of the pandemic. So partly is because of this maybe like closing down of shops, closing down of business. It can actually increase a lot of rates of depressions. And I'm quite grateful that the awareness is starting to get higher, whereby people start to look into mental health of not only of their work employees, but also in terms of family context. They will try. A lot of parents try to take care of the mental health of children, and also if let's say for the healthcare professional, they start to take into account mental health into their maybe prescription, maybe on in their intervention. They're trying to actually put more focus on mental health already. So this is quite a thing that I'm grateful for. Just beside of me having mental challenge, but I'm really glad that the awareness is starting to increase over time.
Yeah, that's amazing to know. Shen Yi, before you go into the question, I just wanted to just ask Celine, because just now she was talking about like the pandemic, and yeah, I think it's very true, right? A lot of research study talking about mental health and pandemic as well. But also at the same time, Celine, like besides pandemic, do you think like what are other factors that can actually affect mental health in general?
Okay, so partly of that, I would say the environment really affects a lot. So I would say the way that I've been brought up will eventually subconsciously actually mold my mindset today, or even my reaction today. So if let's say I was trained to find more reasons than acknowledging my feelings, so one day, perhaps one day in 2019, I will blown up like this because I'm not taking care of my emotions. So quote from my psychologist that actually did counseling with me. This is what she's told me, that I don't really acknowledge my feelings. I don't really acknowledge my emotions. This is when that I really have to sit down and really process my emotions and all. So this is what I think, that one of the factors of mental illness is your environment, and also part of it is biological factors, which this is what I've been through. My psychiatrist actually told me that my brain lacking of serotonin, which is a neurotransmitter lah. That means it will affect my mood regulation. It will affect my process speed. Yes. So if let's say people talk to me, I will appear blank. So because I was lacking of serotonin, perhaps I think this is one of the factors that we really need to look into, whereby our brain really can't work as normal as the healthy person lah. Is so that's why I think mental illness, we can actually treat it as a high blood pressure or diabetics, because some of the factors is mainly of the biological factors. Yeah.
Well, that's something new to me as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
I learned a lot during my session with my counseling. You can imagine me crying and asking for what happened to me. Yeah.
That's not
Then
easy though.
yes, that's
Mm.
really not easy, because I feel I'm a maniac, crying and asking what happened to me, and I couldn't focus on my work, and I feel very lazy. Like a lot of people, if let's say if you most probably will heard people saying lazy in depression people, but it truly, you really feel that you are very hard to move. This is what we feel as a person that has depression lah. Yeah.
Understand. Thank
Yeah,
thank you so much though for sharing on that. Yeah, Shinji, you can go ahead.
yeah. I think what Celine was mentioned just now is it get me when I'm listening to what you were saying. It's something somehow triggered to my mind where maybe before that, maybe 10 years ago, then when we talk about mental illness, then people will say, "Aya, you don't narrow your mind, you think positively." I mean, okay, before we go into that, probably that is just one of the, I don't know, one of the things that you go through when you're facing the challenge. But when you say that one of the factor could actually be our brain, the human brain cannot secrete enough serotonin, and that affects the emotion, and that somehow make like that in term of the thought process, and
Yeah.
that is why one of the reason, biological reason, that things could happen, in which I think nowadays, apart from biological reason, the environment, the working environment, the lifestyle can also really play a big role in causing, or not causing, play a big role in mental illness.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay. So that is the part about the factor that might cause mental illness, right?
Mm.
So, Celine, what is the mental illness, or what is the things that you have gone through before? Maybe you can start the sharing a little bit.
Can
Yeah.
okay. So just now, as I mentioned, back in 2019, I've diagnosed depression and also anxiety. So my depression is not just mild depression, but major depressive disorder. Yeah, which is I really need to go through medications. But thankfully, lah, I don't have the courage to actually have suicidal. I have thoughts of suicidal, but I don't have the courage to take action. Okay,
Mm.
so this is one of the diagnosis criteria that the psychologists will actually use to diagnose a person whether they have depression or not, whether you have suicidal thoughts and everything. So what I have is those two lah. So it's major depression disorder and anxiety. So what I have, right? I went through counseling. I met counselor, I met psychologist, and I met psychiatrist. So thankfully for all that treatment, I'm fully discharged already lah. So yeah, I'm shocked that I discharged, saying that I recovered from this, and I'm no longer having medications lah. But times to times, I do feel that episode coming back, but I'll
Mm.
try to actually learn how to actually encounter it lah, all this, because I don't think this podcast will actually can cover my full story, but this is one of the summarized lah, which I actually diagnosed these two. I have these two diagnoses.
I see. So when is the period of time? Just now you mentioned 2019, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
Maybe
yeah.
during that time, what is the things that you are going through in your
Oh,
life during that time?
okay. So during that time, I'm actually having my final exam, like because I'm dietetic, I have to go through clinical placement. So clinical placements is considered my toughest period, because I have to be strong in the surface, trying to interview what you have for breakfast, what you have for lunch and everything. But then inside I don't really have the motivation to actually do all sort of this. But at the same time, while I'm continuing doing what I should do in clinical placement, there's one point of time I actually break down, whereby I call up my mom, I call her and I say I don't want to study anymore. Then that's when the whole thing got a little bit complicated, where it involved my mentors, my lecturers, get to know my conditions lah. So and then that point of time, I can really stay on bed for the whole day without taking bath, and I'm every night I couldn't sleep. I can literally walk. You can see me walking here and there in the living room because I can't sleep. That's how I think that's when I realized I got anxiety attack without me knowing anxiety attack, because that time I haven't had my treatment, I haven't meet anyone yet. Okay, so that's when my mentor suggest me to go for psychologist, to go for counselor. So
Mm.
during my counselor session, during the counseling session doesn't really work to me lah,
Okay. Maybe
because um,
okay, you can continue first, Celine. Yeah.
uh,
It doesn't work for you.
it doesn't work for me. Then I moved to psychologist. So when
Mm.
the psychologist, her first question is, "How are you?" I started crying already. Just a few seconds into the session, I started crying already. And then after that, then the psychologist said, "Wow, you memang cannot like I couldn't really consult you. Counseling doesn't really work for you. Then refer me to psychiatrist." Yeah. So this is how it actually happens lah. It happens in the clinical placement itself.
I see, I see. Okay, Amiru, before you move on, right? I'm just curious about Celine because, like, during the time where you are experiencing the symptom that you are mentioning, you feel like it's very hard. You don't have motivation, and then you don't know what to do. You feel very lazy and things like that. How long does the period last? Is that like the duration before you talk to your mentor? Then your mentor actually suggests you to go for counselor.
Actually, it lasted like a week, 2 to 3 weeks. That kind. Like it's
Mm,
prolonged. It's not a day. It's not a day thing, but it's
mm.
actually happened to me daily. Yeah.
That means during that time you are facing it, keep facing it, and up until a point where you already go through it for almost 2 or 3 weeks, then
Yeah.
only you go and find for help. Is it, or is it really people around you that actually
Oh,
notice the changes?
okay. Yeah.
Mm,
That's a very good point because I myself don't really actually go seek for help. But my symptoms actually worried a lot of people around me, and what they do, they actually say, "Oh, Celine, you might need to see on Celine what happened to her," and then my family started to bring me over to see this doctor, see that doctor, yeah. So that's when practically those help is not me seeking for help at the first place, but this is when all my friends can actually help me to say that, oh, you need to go. But at that point of time, I also um, re- open myself to go and see psychiatrists, because at that point of time I don't really say I'm sick. I just lazy lah. I think I sleep, then I'll be better tomorrow. But then it prolongs quite a long time that I open myself to actually, okay, I have to go see doctor. Yeah.
Understand. All right. Yeah, it sounds very touching to me as well because I can also hear from your voice that it's not that easy to share about this. But yeah, Celine, like when you were talking about this happened during that clinical years, um, did you already know what was the trigger during that time that makes you suddenly have that thoughts of like, not doing anything, like having that kind of like mental breakdown, hard to sleep?
Oh, you mean at that point in time, do I know the factors of all this triggering
Yeah.
me?
Or maybe is there like certain kind of thing that triggers you that you already identified, or you just didn't know that until you actually meet the psychologist or like the
Yeah.
psychiatrist?
I do not know anything until I meet the therapist.
I
Yes.
see, I see. And then the therapist only tell you like you need to identify, or you only identify, oh, this is actually the trigger.
Yeah. But actually that time I don't really know what happens to me. I just feel that I'm lazy. I can't really express what I'm feeling now. So when I go to the therapist said that you are actually in the depression. You are actually having major depressive disorder. That's when I feel, oh, okay, all this of feeling lazy, feeling unmotivated, feeling um, unable to sleep, walking around. That's called anxiety. That's when I recognize I have all this mental illness. So
I see.
when I got when I got those diagnoses, I know what to do next. So for example, if let's say you have diabetics, then what you should do next, you need to know what are the carbohydrates or what sort lah. So this is the thing that point of time I don't really know what happens to me. Yeah, but then
I see, I see.
till today I'm still thinking of what are the triggers lah. I'm still learning.
Understand. Okay. Like during that time, besides going to psychology per se, right? What about in term of friends, like do you have anyone to talk to you about it, or like just your family or something?
it's quite hard because they don't really know what I've been through. As Sunny said, like they will say, "Hiya, you don't think too much lah. You come out and do exercise, go talk to your friends, have some tea." But I really can't. So when the miracle thing is that when I have the pill, the brain some sort of like peaceful, and I get to hear the bird chirping. I get to feel the breeze of the wind. This kind of thing. That's when I
Understood.
really understand what my friend talking. Yeah.
Got it. Got it. I think that's something that I learned as well back in university. Like when when you're talking to someone who has like mental illness, you can't belittle how they feel.
Yes.
Like you can't simply say that you overthink only like you suka overthink though. Like those kind of words that people say. I think the first thing first, as what you mentioned earlier, is to acknowledge the feelings. I think that's like the biggest learning I've learned about
Yes.
managing this. And sometimes people who has like mental illness, they come to you. It's not because they want the solution, but they just want to vent, right?
Yes.
They just
Correct.
want to like tell you how they feel. But yeah, that's like something that is good as well for the listeners to know. Like when there's someone coming to you, or like if you know someone who has mental depression, I think it won't hurt for you to just ask them like, hey, how are you? Do you need someone to talk? I think that will definitely help to maybe ease a little bit of it, right?
Yeah. But what I felt most helpful is
Mm,
that as long you just beside me without us talking, I feel relieved. Yeah, just without us talking, and then whenever we want to talk, then we talk. That's how I feel like at the point of time. You don't keep saying that like you think too much lah, and then wow, my whole brain is gonna explode. Yeah, this is a piece of advice to all of you also. If let's say you have friends that gone through a lot of mental challenges, you can just be there for them. If there's anything that they need, you just be their side and be their listeners lah.
yeah, that's amazing. Yeah. Again, Shenyi, before you go into the next one, we want to also discover like how Celine, like get out of this and getting where she is right now. But of course, before that, she needs to go through the clinical years, right? So we are very curious to know like how you went the clinical years. For example, we know the fact that for you to be a dietitian, you need to basically consult clients. You need to go through that clinical, community, food service, which means that there are a lot of interactions with people. Okay, okay, we are not just talking about just interactions, but what about in terms of you consulting people with depression or like people with mental illness? Did you had any experience doing that during that clinical years when you yourself having that mental challenges?
Okay, during that clinical years, I do have patients that have like schizophrenia, and also some of the I do have clients with depressions.
Mm,
So at that point of time, before I was diagnosed, I don't really know how to consult them, but I know how to talk to them because I've been through the pain that I've been through. Because when they really don't talk, then I don't talk. So I'll just keep my question simple, and then I'll just guide them and then make them feel safe. And yeah, actually they are not, they don't want don't want themselves to be like that. It's just a mental illness that maybe put people have the mindset of saying that, oh, I can't talk to them, but they are truly fine. It's just that you need to let them feel very safe, and then I get to consult them okay lah, like through the standard procedure of every dietetic will need to do. Yeah.
yeah.
It's just
Okay.
that I will have to touch down into mental health because in order to give intervention to this patient, I will
Yeah.
first need to settle of their mental health status lah. because without mental health, I really agree, because I myself been through those.
Yeah.
Without mental health, you can't do anything that is what you should do. Yeah.
Mm, understand. Okay. What about like after you being diagnosed, right?
Hmm.
Does all your classmates or like your friends know about your diagnosis?
Yes, I
Okay.
I
So they
open
know, right?
uh, because I'm thick skin. I will tell everyone that I went to see doctor and I got this
Mm,
diagnosis lah. But
okay.
it's they are quite grateful also, because they don't know what would I feel when I have this kind of illness.
Understand.
So yeah, practically they all know my conditions, and I would be truthfully telling what I feel that point of time lah. So for
Understand.
example,
Do
if,
do Oh, sorry. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry. I'm very curious right now. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
so I was like, I will tell them what is my condition right now. I don't really want to talk. I, like, for example, if let's say people want to show me out for tea time, then I say, today is a bit under the weather. Yeah, then they will just let me be. But at the same time, I will also have to make sure my safety lah. Yeah.
Understand. Do you think as well sometimes people will give a different treatment to someone who has like mental challenges? Or did it happen to you? Or you think they are very good that they do treat it as like something very, very different, and then it's like before this when they don't know, they treat you differently, and then when they know, they suddenly change everything. Did it happen?
That's a very good question that I always ask myself, because I don't want to be treated as I'm vulnerable, because I'm just that I have time that I really cannot function normally. So practically, my friend doesn't have a special treatments to me lah, because they all know I have a certain expectation to myself, and I don't want to be treated as vulnerable, because yeah. So this the thing lah. They don't really have these special treatments to me. And I truly believe that if, let's say, you perform well in your daily life, they will just take it as you're sick. Yeah. It's nothing much that I need to treat you differently if, let's say, you have depression.
Got it. Got it. That's good to know. Yep. Shen Yi?
Yeah, I have a few questions as well. I mean, this topic is really interesting. Just wondering, just now there is a part when you were saying after you taking the pill, right, the medication basically from psychiatrist, from the doctor, and then you started to feel. It sounds to me you started to feel the world again in a way where you
Yes.
hear the bird chirping and then what the conversation that your friend is talking and you manage to join and things. So before you reach to the medication part, is there any other things that you do or you
Oh,
did during that time? Maybe just briefly about it lah. Yeah.
okay.
Mm,
Um, this is a very, very sick thing that I do,
mm-hmm.
which I also found a lot of mental illness. I mean, people with mental challenges, mental illness will do. So not we lah. I will actually feel pain, because I can't do what I really want to do as usual. For example, I able to read this book, but at that point of time, I really can't read that book. So you can feel the frustration in my heart.
Mm,
So that frustration actually, it's killing me inside, where I have those pain, and I will harm myself. I will harm myself, where I maybe pinch myself just to relieve the pain. So it's normal, as like, for example, if let's say we are stressed, we go to gym. But then for us, because we can't feel anything, that I go and pinch myself and everything. So that's when the psychiatrist actually say, okay, you need this medication, so that you will feel a sense of calm in yourself. This is what I learned along the session now, because it's not about treating myself also. it's also about helping people with the same condition as me. Because that point of time, I really don't know what I'm been through, because I'm pinching myself just to relieve the pain. I was like, okay, this is not really normal, but it seems relieving to me lah. And at the same time, just now, Shen Yi said that before the medication, what I do is that I have symptoms of walking around every night, because I have this kind of excessive energy that I really can't release. So every night I couldn't sleep. Sometimes I even tremble. Sometimes I walk here and there. So there's one point of time I'm being grabbed tightly by my mom just to fall asleep. Yeah, these are the things that I've been through lah. But then but I'm very grateful that I went through the psychiatrist session, that I eat this medication. I feel very, very calm, in the sense that I really feel the wind blow. I really feel the bird chirping, and I hear a lot of things lah. Like hear a lot of things, as in like I hear things that is normal lah. It's not that I'm in the bubble. Yeah. I think this is a very heavy topic, but I hope maybe this podcast will be heard by someone who really want to tell it out but couldn't tell it out. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you very much for the sharing just now, Celine. And actually, regarding, besides from the medication, is there any other things that you do during that time that you think that helps you to recover or to move on to the next stage where you don't need medication anymore?
Okay.
Yeah.
So this went back when my condition is less severe, because when you are severe, you really need the medications. But once I recovered from the medications, I will start to actually have my own treatment, as in like I will need to relieve stress. Like for example, if I stress, I go and release. If I sad, I need to cry. If I'm angry, I have to curse or whatsoever lah, just to actually
Okay.
relieve the anger. So this is how I need to acknowledge all my emotions. Because before that, I only use the joyful side of me to cover all the emotions. For example, I'm angry, but I say it's okay lah. I do this mistake. Next time I will improve. Padahal is not my fault, but I'm actually covering everything to show the joyful side of me. Yeah. And this podcast is quite in time as the movie Inside Out too.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's anxieties and anger. So each of the emotion is very important, because I remember I have one psychologist that told me back in 2019. He said that you have been bottling up your emotions for a very, very long time. Because during my state of the mind, I don't really feel joy, I don't really feel sad, I don't really feel angry. I feel very empty. And that's a sign of depression. So that bottling up is not really healthy. So it's very important for you to just release every emotions out. And then to love yourself lah. So to prevent you from eating the medication, you have to love yourself. And then, for example, if you to be yourself, not to try to be someone that you are not. You are not. Okay. So it is okay to not be okay, and then you have to love yourself. As in, if let's say you love pink, then you love pink. You don't, because of this guy loving blue, then you just force yourself to love blue. Yeah, this kind of self-management, and then stress management, and also appropriate release of emotions is very important to me lah. Because I would say I'm a very active person, that I will go exercise, but then even I'm active, I still went into depression. So this is quite a very serious thing lah that I need to look through. I need to acknowledge all my feelings.
Understand. Yeah. So besides medication, there are also a few more ways that you are practicing. But I'm just
Yes.
wondering, right? Okay, Celine, this question actually got me into thinking when when you share about after you take medication, you are recovered from the depression and also anxiety. And since at the beginning of the podcast, you mentioned about one of the reason could be because the serotonin is actually not enough, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So does that means that after a certain period of time of taking medication, and our brain will be able to produce enough serotonin so that yeah, you will feel happy, you will feel, yeah, get
Yeah.
more feeling. Is it true?
Yes. Okay. So, all right. Maybe let us put in this way. When I was in the depressive state, I really can't feel anything. That I really barely move. So once I eat a medication, I can feel myself again, where I where I start to like I have the energy to climb up, and then I take care of myself, and then having bath and everything. But once I stop the medication, I do also feel that is it do I have to depend on the medication for all this serotonin?
Yeah.
So actually, it's not. Is mainly of your lifestyle as well. So main of it is my diet. So as I was thinking back, right, during my before my depressive state, my diet was kind of not balanced in the sense that I'm every day eating just onigiri and soya. Because clinical placement, I'm very stressed of having all the reports done and then need to write all the NCP. I was very stressed. So my diet was those monotonous same food every day, and I grab whatever convenience. So and then after I have my serotonin and I stop and I get back into a very much balanced diet where I get my fruits, blueberries, because I also do some research that whatever foods that help serotonin is all the banana, kiwi, blueberries, all those fruits and with many colors, and also broccolis, all the purple, get as much colors that you want. So this is, and it actually have me recover until now. Yeah, so
Mm.
I've been practicing all this balanced diet, and I always remind myself, if let's say I'm stressed, I can't really just go get whatever convenient in 7-Eleven or 99 lah. It's just I have to take care of my diet even though I'm in a very stressful situation, because that it actually helps to boost your serotonin production. Because just to
Mm.
share also, because the doctor also let me know that if I have this kind of depressive state is because how a normal brain function is that whenever they are in a stressful situation, they have enough serotonin to actually help them to function normally. But but for me, maybe it's also because of my biological factors, because I have a very strong family history of mental illness also lah. Somehow I heard lah. So what I have is whenever I'm in a very stressful state, my serotonin is lesser. So when my serotonin is lesser and getting lesser because of the stressful situation, I barely take care of myself. I barely regulate my moods, and all the situation will worsen and worsen again lah. So it will then, if let's say you are not, you don't really seek for help, you don't really seek for treatment, yeah, it's very dangerous.
Understand that. Amiru, before you move on to the last question, I think it sounds to me where the medication that you take act like a temporarily transition phase for you to regulate. Just now, something very interesting that you brought up, even though this is not only diet talk, but you bring about diet as well in terms of the fruits, in terms of the different color of food that we need to include in the diet, and also monotonous diet. Yeah,
Mm,
that is something worth to take note of. So besides diet, I mean, you already stopped the medication already. Besides on diet and also to not hide your emotion, right? What else is the way you manage your emotion?
mm, for me, because I myself I've been brought up that I don't really voice out my opinion that much. So nowadays I'm being more courageous of what I thought. So those kind of emotion actually somehow release lah. So this is how I actually manage my emotions. When I sad, I cry. When I angry, mostly what I hide is those frustration and also anger lah. So this is what the doctors let me know, that I actually have a lot of anger inside, but I don't really release out, because for me, I don't really like people quarreling and all those. But it's just that if let's say you have those kind of emotion, you need to find a way in somehow that you need to let the person know, or the person you are talking to, that you are angry, so you don't be like belittled by anyone lah. Because once you belittled, your the spark inside of you getting smaller and smaller, and one day you just go off. So that's when you are entering in the state of depression lah.
So Celine, like, thank you so much for sharing the whole thing itself. I think it's not an easy conversation, as what you said. You know, it's a very heavy topics. So moving on into your current, you know, like, where you are right now, right? It's like, I believe it's not that easy for you to just like pass through all these things just like that, right? And it might be sometimes the little feelings comes again, right?
Yes.
So how do you actually manage it in your current situation right now?
Rest. Yeah, I,
Just
I
rest.
will need to really rest and give myself sick leave whenever I really need. So just very bad that Malaysian have not how to say, like mental health kind of leave that we need to take sometimes. But I'm grateful that the so far my the settings that I've been in, it's very understand to what I'm been through. So they allow me to do for some leave, and even if let's say I need a longer rest, so I'll just take a rest. But a note to myself also, I can't really take things for granted. Once you get the leave, you need to perform well in your work lah. So this is yeah, you need to balance in the sense of all these things. But mainly what I need to share is that how I overcome it is rest.
Understand. That's amazing. All right. Yeah. So I think we are approaching towards the end already, right, Shinji? Shinji, do you
Yeah,
want to do the summary, or you want me to do the summary?
I think you can do the summary.
I think the best is that I give like summary based on how I get from this podcast, and then
Mm,
you give based on what you get from this podcast, because there might be something that I get that you don't, and you get I don't.
sure,
Yeah.
let's do it.
So to me personally, this is the most interesting topics that we've been like talking and doing since past 14 episodes. I'm very grateful that we started to want to talk about it, and of course thanks a lot to Celine for being like super open about it. um we're gonna make sure that we try our best to like make sure a lot of people listen to it, you know, because I think a lot of people need to know and start be more aware about it. Yeah. But I think in general, it's the integration, you know, like how do we actually manage this, or how does this whole thing happen? It's the integration, or the factors, it's the multi factors of a lot of things. Yeah, it could be environment, it could be your past life, the way how you were brought up, a lot of things, right? Even the pandemic. And how we manage it, it's so interestingly that there are a lot of ways on how to actually manage it, right? And the most important part that I get from this whole conversation is that seek help, really, like seek help, seek professional help. Like you really need to talk to the professional. They know how to navigate you. Even when you were talking about the counselor or the psychologist just now, she knows her boundary. Like she know that she can't do it, she will refer you to the psychiatrist, because she knows that that's the limitation of her job description. Oh yeah, job description. So that's why she actually refer you to a psychiatrist. And that's the right way, on the right thing to do. So same goes to people who has anyone who has any mental illness. Then if they come to you, if you can't help, bring them to the professional to help you out. And it's also nice to hear from Celine as well, when she talks about how important diet as well, in this whole management itself, like how it integrates well, not just in terms of psychology or the psychiatrist part, but also in terms of the diet, in terms of the medication, in terms of like physical exercises. And the most important part is to acknowledge how you feel, regardless the tiny little feelings that you have. Yeah. So I really learned a lot from you, Celine. And for me, that's like how I actually can summarize the whole session with Celine today. Yeah, Shen Yi?
You pretty much summarize everything already, right? So actually, throughout the whole conversation itself, um, what struck me, I would say, what struck me would be in terms of when Celine, you are describing the feeling that you are going through during that time, and the feeling of I think I'm okay, but why people they're actually thinking that I'm not okay. So I that is the things, the part that struck me. And me personally, I never experienced until that extent before, but I believe in my life there are certain stage where I feel depressed, I feel anxious, and I believe everyone who are listening or over here, you will feel the same to a certain extent. And my takeaway would be acknowledge your own feeling. If you are angry, you are angry. You like it, you say you like it. You don't like it, you say you don't like it. But not try to polish everything up as in, yeah, it's my fault. Don't take every blame on yourself. Because especially when you talk about you don't like quarrel, you don't like some people is like very noisy around you and things like that. I feel the same. I feel the same as early stage of my university life, but also along the way when a lot more conversation going through with friends around, then sometimes sometimes I prefer quiet, but sometimes it's okay to just shout that I'm not happy, things like that. So yeah, so I think really appreciate Celine, you to have the courage and also feeling have the, how should I put it into word, as in like the the time when you agree on the interview and the discussion to bring your story up. I think I am really grateful for you for willing to share. So yeah. All right. So basically, we are
Yep.
almost the last part of our podcast. Maybe before we end, any things you want to share with the audience, Celine?
No, but yeah, just sharing that yeah, if you don't feel okay, it's all right. Just seek for help, and then yeah, nothing is the end of the world lah. So there are friends, there are family that you can talk to, and also there are a lot of healthcare professionals that you can seek from.
That's amazing. Thank you so much, Celine. Yeah, I think that's all for our episode 15 today. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much to Celine. And thanks, everyone. Have a good week ahead. Bye bye.
Bye bye.